All right. Hey, good evening, everybody.
Evening, Clay. Evening, John.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Really,
Great.
really good. We got 7 on board. We had some drop off. It looks like switch over to YouTube, but that's okay. It's not our normal night. So tell you what, we're going to start this off like we do every single episode, though, with the Second Amendment. Well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And to me, it's one of the most important amendments that we are blessed with today. So. Well, I had this up. Everybody didn't see it right here. We got Ultimate Outdoor Adventure TV. You can go to Team UOA, I believe it is .com, right, John?
Yep. We don't have much of a website anymore just because of the way changes are. More going to Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that.
Yeah, I noticed you had just the links there, and I went and grabbed a few pictures. Let everybody know who you guys are. You got Kurt, Jason, and yourself, and looks like you had a pretty good pheasant harvest there somewhere.
Yeah, that was during an NDSU game. We ran out and got lucky and killed a few birds.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Awesome.
Well, right. I'm going to let Jamie kick this baby off, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so Clay and I got a segment every Friday on Mitchell in the Morning, 5:50 a.m., and we did one of our segments that we covered was a guy who's got a hunting show. Raised Hunting, Mr. David Holder, and he said something about crossbows and crossbow season, and Clay and I kind of went after him about that. John got in touch with me, figured we were a little hard on him about it, and said we should maybe do a podcast about that, hit on crossbows being considered for archery season or not considered, which Holder said in his podcast, absolutely not. He don't want to go on record and say crossbows have no business being in archery season, which I disagree with. And Clay, but hey, we're more than happy to have John on. We're friends. We're going to have a little discussion about that. And later in the show, I'm sure we're going to get into some other deer talk, but we're going to hit off that right off the bat. And John, you want to start us off on this thing here?
Sure. I'm gonna cough here for a second. I drank something.
Yeah, and then I'm going to put in a shameless plug. This brought to you tonight by Lauer Auto Repair, one of our founding sponsors. I want to thank Axe and the boys down there. 309 South Washington Street. You can get a hold of them at 701-258-6308. Lauer Auto Repair.
You know, those guys down at Lauer, I don't know if any of the original guys are down there, but Keith.
He's still there. Yep, he's still
part owner. My GMC, he put that thing back together more than once for me. Yeah. That's where we took all our machinery to get done.
They do fantastic work, and so we're happy to hear there's guys going in saying they hear it here. So we just like to support guys that support us, and that's the only place to go.
I used to actually bowl against Keith. He's a hell of a bowler. That guy still got some guns on him too. So
they were tough guys. They did a good job.
Yeah.
So the other night I was. I actually didn't catch a podcast right away. Someone just texted to me and said it, so I went back and listened to it. And I text Jamie because I'm a pretty protective guy with all my friends because Jamie's a friend of mine, and again, we all sometimes I think jump on bandwagons, whether it's what we stand for or what we're against, and I think sometimes we're a little hard. And I told Jamie, I said, man, you're pretty tough on him. And I understand where Jamie's coming from. And I've known David now. I met David Holder and the Holder family probably 14 years ago at the archery trade show. And David is a super passionate bow hunter.
Yep.
And when I listened to what you said about him, I think it's one of those deals. A guy listens to a podcast and you pull out, it's kind of like the spin on things. It's like you pull out one thing they say and it kind of dictates what you think about them. And I'm just here to tell you that David is one of the most passionate guys about hunting all around. And if you re-listen to the podcast, he believes exactly how I do. And it's like, he doesn't hate crossbows. I don't hate crossbows, but I don't want them or feel that they should be in the archery season. And David maybe didn't explain himself on some of the stuff. It's, again, he believes like I do, that if you are injured, Jamie, and I think the reason you shoot a crossbow is because you had some kind of injury or something, right?
Boy, I've had many wrist surgeries, and I tore my right rotator cuff twice within a year. Actually, that sucked, but sure.
And so a guy doesn't want to take that away from anybody. And we were just talking about it. I was down to Shields talking to some of the guys, and there's a guy looking at a crossbow, and he had just had shoulder, replacement. Well, I have another friend here in North Dakota. He's 75 years old and he's been a bow hunter his whole life. They won't give him a permit because they say that it's not due to an injury. It's not like your shoulder, which I was a little disappointed because
that is disappointing.
Right. And when I look at things, the spin I have on it, and again, like I said, David is, I started with David, 12 years ago with Raised at Full Draw, bringing kids in the archery hunting and trying to get kids to bow hunt. So like I said, David is a stand-up guy. When he talked about like with his sponsors and things like that, he's got sponsors. And again, he's not against, matter of fact, they said, if you would like, they would come on your podcast.
Yeah, I'd love to. That'd be great.
I had talked to his son Easton, and again, I think they're doing a good job on their podcast, getting things out, and they're hitting some controversial things. And like they said, they knew they were going to get hammered on it because there's people that are very adamant. And one of the things that happens with us, I think, as hunters, is we're our own worst enemies because we fight amongst each other.
I think you're right there, John. No matter what the subject is, as a group, I see it with the gun owners too. We're our own worst enemy because we got so much infighting. There's no doubt about that.
That's Siri talking to me. And, and so the thing that food for thought is what, one of the things that I look at. So I'm selfish. There's no question about it. I love North Dakota. I love that I get an archery tag and I get a gratis tag, or I get a chance at drawing at a rifle tag. And I get a chance at drawing a muzzleloader tag. So, there's been some years, or I think it's happened twice in my life that I've had all three, which is nice. And one of the things we're starting to see in North Dakota is we're getting the rifle hunters complaining and bitching, saying that they're not getting drawn, and why did all archery guys get all the tags? And so you get that animosity going. And one of the things that I wanted Jamie and both of you guys to look at is, so I did some research on crossbows, and from what I gathered throughout the country, they're saying it's not making a big deal with deer populations. It's not devastating the states that have it during archery. Some of them have it. There's a breakdown. It's like 1% has it here, 5% has it during part of their archery season, and they're saying overall it's not really affecting it. But there's only certain states that have kind of broken it down, and you look at Ohio. They have an average of 21% with success with a bow, and you go up to 28% with a crossbow. Missouri success rate average is 31. It goes to 35 with a crossbow. So Wisconsin, same thing. You're going up by 5 to 10% success rate on a crossbow. And I've always told people, I said, what's the one thing you hear when guys say, why don't they bow hunt? What do they say? Why? It's like, hey, why don't you bow hunt? What do they usually say?
Well, you got to put the time in.
Yeah, it takes too much time, because you have to practice.
Or travel to where you're going. I mean, that's a big thing for me, even though I have land. So,
and so what I look at with everything is that, so you have a higher success rate. And when you look at these states, the crazy thing is that compared to North Dakota, so they're saying that in these other states, it's not making a difference. But the reason it's probably not making a difference is you're looking at Maryland, which is one of the states they have a population of over 207,000 deer. Missouri has 1.4 million deer. Wisconsin has 1.6 million deer. Ohio has close to 800,000 deer. We have 135,000 deer, which is probably down to about 70,000.
Yeah, it's a little high now.
So,
that probably is.
So one of the things as a bow hunter, when I think of this, is that, so if our success rate right now, bow hunting in North Dakota is very high. It's like 38% success rate. So you jump that up to 50% when you add crossbows, even by 5%, then we're going to be shooting 5,000 more deer. And then they're going to start they're already starting to look at a one tag system. And that scares me. And it's not that I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody, but we already have opportunities for the youth at 12 years old, 13 years old to shoot does with the rifle early season. We have an opportunity to use your crossbow if you're disabled during the archery season. You can use it during the rifle season. So it's not like it's banned, but I think some of these, whether it's true or not, but in a state like ours, I think it could make a difference whether that one tag versus 2 tags. We're in like Ohio or places that have, a million deer. There's just not enough people to make that big a difference. So I think when David's talking about it, they're protecting, Iowa's got some of the best bow hunting in the world.
Oh, 100 for sure. Big time.
And the reason they have great bow hunting is they don't have rifle hunting. They've got shotgun hunting. And again,
it's heavy treat up there anyways, and most of it.
Right.
And that's a lot like what parts of Minnesota are. It's got shotguns, and that's
right.
it. A shotgun and archery. There's only very few places that have rifles.
Yeah. So I think when you look at it, it's like I'm not against crossbows. I just, I'm a little bit selfish, and I would like to keep our system the way it is. And I think that's where you get into the baiting issue too, because with baiting, that percent goes up, and that's where some guys are against it because they're worried about if the percentage keeps going up. Because like that video you sent me, Jamie, some of these kids can shoot at 100 yards quite well. I can't. I can shoot to 50 yards. But like that kid that you sent me, that's Chris B. He's a hell of an archer.
Yeah, that guy's unbelievable. I mean, literally. Go ahead.
We do have a few questions coming in. I'm going to put them up. I got one up here, and then I'm going to piggyback off of this. Vance Bishop asked, if the object is to kill the animal and harvest the meat, what does it matter what you use and when? And I'm just going to piggyback onto that. Basically, to me, it's about the Game and Fish always tells us this is about management, right? Which right. I think it's pretty hard to manage wildlife. I mean, there's things you can do, but Mother Nature is going to be the best manager that there is.
We found that out.
Yeah, other than private landowners. So I always look at it like this. The one tag system does not scare me for the simple fact you can choose the season you want and choose what you'd like to use. And you could probably give out more tags. It's probably going to increase rates. You look at the archery rate, if you increase that with crossbows, that's meeting those management goals. Now, it might take away some of the other tags, either in archery, which archery never loses any tags, John, when you start cutting them out like they did this year. Rifle did, but archery never does.
Right, because of the percentage. Because with a rifle, you're shooting 70% success rate.
Well, and that goes back to the management. If we're trying to take out so many deer out of the herd, wouldn't you want to increase the places where you have the best rate of success?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, that's what they tell us it's about. They tell us it's about management. And based on that, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. And again, it depends on what you're looking at. The Game and Fish may be saying one thing. I'm saying another thing. My management goal is to have older deer, more deer, so that I can,
that's me too here. But
yeah, and I love to hunt, and I know what people sometimes if the object is killing animal harvest meat. Okay,
right. But this is Vance's question. I just piggyback.
And really, it doesn't make a difference. It's just that, again, it's like, why not move the season out of the rut?
I like that idea too.
But people are going to freak out because it's something we've always done. And when we've always had the opportunity, because I am a bow hunter, I'm a passionate bow hunter, but I love to rifle hunt. And if I had to give up one or the other, I would give up rifle hunting because I love to bow hunt. And I know like Montana, what if we did like Montana? Because someone asked me that. Well, everybody gets a buck tag and they only get one tag. Well, that's why. Just think if everybody in North Dakota got a buck tag, what would happen?
Well, I would hate to see that. You're not having any bucks left. But I think, and I come from another state. I come from South Dakota where we always had the any deer
South
tag.
Dakota cowboy.
Yeah, dang it. Anyway.
You guys got the most lenient. Like I said, you can come out of there with 6 buck tags. I love that place.
I mean, I used to look at that and it used to kind of torque me off because of that, especially being like on my grandpa's place when there was no deer. And then you'd have guys show up with, like you said, 5-6 tags each. And then if they got the reservation tag on top of it, oh my goodness. But I always had the opportunity with the any deer tag at that time that if I didn't want to take a nice mature buck or I couldn't find one, I always had that opportunity to take a doe. And I've brought this up to Game and Fish Mismanagement several times, but I cannot convince any of them that that's a good idea. And to me, why wouldn't that be an option? Wouldn't that be also another tool for management? I mean, guys like me, I'm going to hunt for a big one. I'm like any other guy, but I'm telling you right now, if I can't find that nice mature buck, I'm going to go. I would love to be able to just go take a big juicy doe off of the cornfield. I mean,
Clay, I would say from that, because a lot of bow hunters and David and his guys just say, I get they're passionate and they try to get in. I watched the show many times. I think they have a great show.
Mhm.
You know, they're like, hey, it's like a spiritual journey. Okay, so then if we got all these extra doe tags, which we always do, especially in
Always.
3F2, hey, let the bow guys have at those. And but you know what's going to happen? They're not going to want that because they're going for the big bucks, man. And that's one of my points. If you guys are so passionate about it, get after them does. And if it's all about the experience and getting out there and doing that, why would you? You know, I guarantee you, John, they'll turn their nose up at doe takes. Nah, I want the buck, man.
Well,
That's what I'm
but again, for instance, the holders are lucky because they can shoot. They shoot 3 and 4 does off there, so they don't have a. You know, I have a 2,000 acre ranch. They have a 200 acre ranch in Iowa. You know, a 200 acre farm.
Yeah.
So they shoot. They each get to shoot like 3 and 4 does. Where we used to get to do that as a landowner, you know, we have the extra tags left over. And I'm not sure how their tag system goes, and that's one of the things I struggle with sometimes with our tag system is that we allocate deer tags to other people, and it doesn't always go to some of the landowners. I'm not saying the landowners, but it's like you've got so many deer in your place, and we let as many people as we can come and shoot deer. But like you said, Clay, it'd be nice to be able, if you didn't, you know, that's what's nice about that gratis tag is you can fill a doe if you want.
Yeah, and I do. I get my gratis tag now. Now I'm in North Dakota and I'm a landowner. I take the gratis tag, and of course my son can get one as well, and he started hunting with me, which is fantastic. And it does give us that opportunity, and we do. There's many years I've shot a doe now because it just I'm trying to manage this place for the big deer, and it was going great till EHD comes through 2 years ago. But they're coming back.
I'd be curious in them statistics John mentioned right away if these guys were killing does or if they were killing bucks. I mean, because if states like that have, like you said, John, way more deer, and I don't know if that's a problem. Even here, North Dakota is so much private land. I mean, if I moved to Florida and bought a Skidoo snowmobile and there's nowhere for me to use it, what the hell good does it do me? I mean, you can buy a crossbow here, but if you can't hunt anywhere, it ain't gonna help you.
And that's one of the things I saw on one of the things I read is that like allowing them to use on private land. You know, like someone said, dead is dead. You know, shoot them with a crossbow, shoot them with whatever. And it's like, again, I'm not against it, and I don't know if it would change things drastically. I think they just made them legal in Kansas, and
Minnesota they did too.
Minnesota,
and I think that when Kansas made them legal, they got 35% more applications. That changes for the guy that's been bow hunting his whole life. All of a sudden, that's what pisses people off. Is all of a sudden. You know, and it's one of those deals I always tell people, it's like, I shoot my rifle probably 3 times a year. I'm not like you guys. Okay?
Yeah, shoot my monthly.
That might be a lot cheaper if that's all I did.
Right. But think about this. So you shoot your rifle 3 times a year. How many times you see me on TV miss a deer? And I show all my misses.
Not many.
Right. So, and I've made a couple where I've hit them in the leg and stuff. I take, the longest shot I've ever taken is 300 yards. I'm not a long range shooter, but again, so I can sight that rifle and I can give it to Jamie. He can go out and he's going to shoot and he's going to kill an animal. I was shooting prairie dogs at 800 yards with the 6.5 Creedmoor, and I was just playing. I wasn't killing them all, but I know that every one I shot at would have been a dead deer.
Yeah. You're right around. You can see
so you grab a compound bow and I sight that in, I give it to Jamie. He can't shoot it.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you. I got a good story for you on that, but
like I said, most people are going to shoot them differently. But if you set in a crossbow and you give a kid a crossbow, and he goes out, and I would say this with anybody because Jason shot his crossbow he killed in Wyoming because his shoulder was bad and he didn't get his bow set up, so he shot a antelope. And we got to shoot it in the yard. Well, I picked it up, and at 40 yards, I was hitting the bullseye, and I had never shot one. It took me one shot to kind of figure out
this one, right?
Yep.
I did that because the crossbow's sitting there.
Yep. No, and again, Jason's dad has shot crossbow, and Jason will be the first one to say it's not easier. You still got to do everything right. You still got to kill them, and they're a little bit louder, that kind of thing. But I think a lot of this stuff I'm saying is the perception of crossbows is that most people, and like you get a raven that's shooting 400 feet per second. And
that's probably even slow for a raven, actually, right. John.
Yeah, so you can shoot at 100 yards. And that guy that was shooting against Chris Be Real, if he'd have put a bog clog down, he'd have hit that bullseye every single time. Because I was impressed that guy could freehand a crossbow and shoot as well as he did.
I mean, and I got it, and it's one of the things I remember from the podcast there, the holders. The one guy said he shot his friend's crossbow twice, and he said he shot a 3-inch group. I don't know if they're listening or going to listen, but I'll give you an offer right now. I will give you a crisp $100 bill if you can shoot a 3-inch group offhand with a crossbow. There's no freaking way you did that, dude. If you did, it was the luckiest group you ever shot. Yeah, he said he shot a 3-inch group with his cross. No way. At 100 yards offhand.
I don't know if I didn't listen that close if he said offhand.
I did.
With a and I know that there was on their podcast they were talking like 700 feet per second and 500.
Well, he did correct himself, right? Because one of them said, I don't know the name. I just know the dad's name, but the boys. And he did say, but he did correct himself. He looked up and said, "No, that's not right." But the one guy said he shot twice. He shot 2 groups, and he said he just picked it up, and at 100 yards, he shot a 3-inch group. And I'm like, I'm not even a marksman. And I'm like, well, I'm a marksman, and there's no damn way I'm doing it.
Not only that, Jamie, he said he did it with 3-power magnification, and that he is not a marksman. Then he goes on and says that you shouldn't hunt, or that he shouldn't even hunt in a rifle season, then possibly because he had just talked about how if you aren't schooled in what you're using and if you're not proficient with it, you probably shouldn't be out there hunting. And, I listened to the whole podcast actually a couple times, another time today.
I did too, actually.
I've got notes all the way around here. So
I got a big list of them. So
yeah, I mean,
it wasn't my thing isn't that they're against crossbows. My thing is kind of how they were talking about it, and the people who use them is what kind of chapped me. It got my skinny ass chapped.
And before we go on to that, I'm going to bring this up because we said we'd take questions. Jason says simple fix, have its own season. And I've had people say that. Why don't we just have a crossbow season and solve the problem? And I don't know if I want another season, but I guess it is. I mean, at least people are talking and have ideas.
When would a guy put it though? That's like,
that's what I mean.
I think a lot of them have put them late season. It's kind of like the youth season. I'm and people can hammer on me on this. I'm not a big fan of the youth season.
I'm not.
I agree with you.
I like the fact that I got to get the kids, but I'm not a fan of it either.
I'm the guy that I think that every kid should, they get their tag, and if they're going to do the youth 14-year-old hunt for bucks, to me they should get a buck tag, and if they want to hunt early season, it should be a doe tag, and if they want to hunt a buck, then they should hunt in November with everybody else.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I don't think that. In today's world, I think that we think that by giving kids things easier, it makes them hooked on it. And I don't see that. I see that
you're right.
The kids that actually work at it have their parents that make them shoot a spike first, because I treated my kids no different than I would treat Jamie's or Clay's, that no one's coming into my place shooting the biggest deer, whether it walks out in front of you accidentally or not, unless you are a guy that puts a lot of time into hunting. I want the kids to experience the hunt. I want them to go out, sit on a hill, see animals. They shoot a doe, come back to the cabin, clean it, have dinner, joke around, have that whole experience. And I think that TV and social media has changed it into all about shooting the biggest deer possible. And I've always made the analogy that it's like your first date being a Playboy model. What the hell? It's like you don't get to go anywhere with that. So,
yeah.
Big rat.
I tell you what, it looks like we're going to be going like an hour and a half. I'm not going to kid you, but I tell you what, let's do an extreme profits timeout. We're going to do that, and John, when we come back, I want you to give your sponsors out too, so we know who's supporting you.
And then after that, let's go through some of the questions that are coming.
You bet. Sounds good. Let's hit it right now. We're going to do the first one. The 701 is proud to be sponsored by Lauer Auto Repair, located at 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota. If you can't stop by, feel free to give them a call at 701-258-6308. Doug and the guys are ardent Second Amendment supporters and will always shoot straight with service and fair pricing. It's been a long winter with lots of snow, ice, and rough roads, so now's the time to get that alignment checked from the curb shots, potholes, and bumpy snow-covered roads. Summer will be here before you know it, so get that rig scheduled for an AC charge. Make sure and tell the guys at Lowry you heard the sponsored guns in the 701 and thank them for supporting and promoting our Second Amendment civil right. That's Lauer Auto Repair, 309 South Washington Street, Bismarck, North Dakota, 701-258-6308. Your North Dakota proud, patriotic auto repair service.
All right. Yeah. Why don't you give us some of your sponsors
Yeah,
there?
John, go for it.
Oh gosh, we got Cedric Thiel. They've been Justin Thiel. Those guys have been with us since the go. It Trusted Tire and Auto now. It used to be Tires Plus. Jared Lundeen.
Yep.
Again, I walked in and met him when I was first doing the show, and he's been a sponsor since the get-go. Who else do we have? Riverside
Actually,
Sports.
Tires Plus, real quick. Actually, he donated money to Friends NRA too. So
Yeah,
Yes, he did.
it's super people, super people.
yep. Go ahead.
River City Sports has been with us since the get-go. Those are three off the top that like I said, that have been with us since the get-go. But we have so many great sponsors, whether it's
Well, as you
still
know,
got Shields with you too, John, or not?
Yeah, Shields has always been. We used to be partnered with the whole Shields community, but now our local Shields really just helps me out with our Raised at Full Draw camp. But they've always been. All my friends are down there. I mean, like I've said, whether they sponsor us or not, all the guys down there, the gals down there have been just awesome.
Good
And I always tell people, I said, when you go to that next ball game, look at who sponsors the ballpark. Do you see Amazon? Do you see Dick's Sporting Goods or anybody like that? It's always the Starry and Banks, the banks from our area, the Shields, the Mandan Sporting Goods. It's like all the guys that are local support us, and so that's why I like to support local.
no,
Awesome.
no, that's where we're at too. So we got a few guys. I'm going to start right here.
Yeah, let's hit them, Clay.
Now, Jason Lutz chimed in again, then, and he says, "Yeah, in South Dakota, you can't get a youth buck tag," and I guess I knew that, and that's good. And this kind of piggybacks off of Eric Newman because the youth season should be doe only because you're trying to get them into hunting, and that's the way South Dakota is. And I agree with you, John. I've never liked the idea that they could take bucks because what's that teach them? If you shoot a monster buck of a lifetime your first time out, then what? And you didn't really probably put the time out. Let's face it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind to shoot a nice one, but if there's a big one, I'm be like, no.
And not just that. Let's face it. If it happened, it's probably on private land with no pressure. Because at that age, I know when I first started taking my boys hunting, they didn't know I was teaching them, and they both shot does. And I can tell you right now, by doing that, we weren't concentrating on that big buck. And then when my youngest came up and he was able to hunt that mentor type hunt, it was great to watch them too. I kind of hung back, and when the youngest one got his and dropped it with his great grandfather's rifle, the same as my other son high-fived him. They run over there, and I mean, you know what? That was better than dropping anything myself. Just watching that, and that's what that's supposed to be about. That's how it's supposed to be.
It is, because I've taken over the years. I can't even count the number of kids. Whether I was going to the eye doctor the other day, and a young man goes, "I don't know if you remember me, but I shot my first turkey with you." I've been doing this a long time, and it's like it's not about how big they are. And I've taken a lot of kids doe hunting, and I've taken some buck hunting, but I put a limit on 120-inch deer. I just say it's going to be something I'm going to tell you, and I tell the dads right away. I said, if you're going to have a problem with this, you're going to have to find somewhere else to hunt. I said, I don't mean to be mean, but I said, I want it to be about the experience. And I have never had a young man or a young lady shoot an animal that they were disappointed in, whether it was, and most of the time they wanted to shoot the first thing that came out, which again, I always tell the dads or the moms, I'm like, let the kid, if they want to shoot, if it's a spike, let them shoot it.
Yeah.
And
that excitement's everything.
Yeah. And then, like I said, it's funny, down at our ranch, and my dad's been gone for 26 years. And in 26 years, we've had like 2 people asked to hunt on our place. And everybody says that no one lets them hunt. Well, I probably have had 20 kids hunt there. And out of that 20, 18 of them were driving and trespassing or whatever. And I would stop, and I'm always very polite because I know people get lost. I know people make mistakes. And I kind of let them dictate it. And I'm like, hey, can I help you? You guys lost? And it's like, yeah, I'm just driving around. We're trying to find some place to hunt with my daughter or my son. And I'm like, well, I said, you saw those big signs back there. And I said, I just want you to know that I said, there's a lot of ranchers that are not probably as kind as I am. But I said, you got to be careful. And I said, if you want to shoot a doe, I said, come back this evening and we'll set you on a hill. I want them to shoot a deer. I bring them back to the cabin, try to cook them dinner, do whatever I can to make it a good experience, because what kind of experience is it driving down the road, jumping out and shooting a deer?
I mean, that's why I quit deer hunting years ago, actually.
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
And so, and again, I think that when we go back to everything, we're bringing youth into hunting, and sometimes I struggle doing that because I don't think there's enough places for them to hunt. And what's happening, and just in our area, when I tell people that, and they're like, "Well, it's because of the private landowner." I said, "Yeah," but I said, the people around my place, when I was a kid, there was us 3 boys hunting, and it was the 3 boys up here on the Tolman Ranch, and there was 3 boys over here on the Schaefer Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now they've all had kids and have friends. Now there's 12 here, there's 15 here, and there's 10 on our place. So there's really not a lot of room, and we got to figure out ways in the hunting community through programs. And I've said that whether it be paying an excess fee of $100 a year that goes back to the private landowners, that pays them enough money to open up their land, because everybody's trying to make a living. And it's hard to have a rancher open up his land for someone to hunt just to the public for $2 an acre or $3 an acre when someone will come in and pay them $10 or $15 an acre. And so we've got to kind of figure out something, because we're not making land anymore.
Nope.
And regardless of what people say, I think that there's getting less and less room to hunt, to try to draw trags. I don't think that we're losing hunters. I think we're losing kind of like gradual or people that really don't hunt very hard, but there's getting to be more and more people that spend a lot more time in the field. So we've got to come up with some ideas how to make a little bit more access. But again, 91% of all deer shot, white-tailed deer shot in the United States, are shot on private land. And that tells you,
I know that much. That's crazy.
A lot of really nice landowners out there.
Yeah.
Well, and I can tell you just from where I live here with taxpayer-owned land that's just north of me, they'll just circle that and they'll never stop in and ask. And now the few that do, I have let some on. I have not let some on. I have a series of questions I ask, and yes, they're loaded as to get what I want. Your belief system. I am not going to, if you go and stand against everything I stand for, or you're not part of supporting the ag community, I'm not going to let you on. Not going to happen. Why on earth would I want to put them people on my land? Especially if they're on the side that they want to destroy my way of living. No. If you roll in here with a Ducks Unlimited sticker, don't ask. I'll tell everyone, don't even come. Those commie bastards are the ones that pushed Measure 5, and they wanted to destroy things as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
and that's the way that's going to be with me.
Yeah. And the sad thing about that, Clay, is that I listened to another podcast the other day. It was We Are Hunters, and they had Stephen Rinaldi's brother, Dr. Matt Rinaldi, and the guy is like, he Stephen Rinaldi, meat eater. The guy is really pleasant to listen to. His brother is like, just seems like he's pissed at the world.
Yeah, I'm watching Meat Eater.
And he brought up I want you to listen to this one. So he brought up again, I understand what he's saying, but I think most people don't understand how ag works in the farming community and the ranching community. So what he said, how about that we tie subsidies and buyouts, or say that when that winter storm comes through and wipes out your herd of cattle and there's government payback to you, the only way you get that government payback is if you open up your land to hunters. And, he brought that up, and I'm like, to some people, they're probably thinking, well, that's a good idea. But I said, I don't know enough. I know enough about farming and ranching to be dangerous, but there's a reason. Levi told me one time, because I get tired of people farming to fail. And I see it where they don't do what they're supposed to do. They don't
farm the government, and they don't care.
Yep.
Absolutely makes them a poor manager.
Right.
I'm going to disclose right now. I take nothing on this place. Right. I participate in no government program from any entity whatsoever.
Right. And there's guys that I know, but I would have to say, and wouldn't you agree that it would be a small percentage of guys that don't take anything?
Very small, very small. Most of them got their hand out there.
Right. So when you had, they get $1 million COVID payment, and it's like, I didn't quite understand that one, but I guess,
I know.
But again, we don't want nothing but corporate farming, and so if the small guy doesn't get bailed out once in a while, are we going to have nothing but corporate farming? So there's a lot that's tied into that. I understood what he was saying, because it's kind of like when people were saying about you're getting a CRP payment, why don't you open it up? I'm like, but you don't understand CRP payment. I said, the guy's got to fence it. He's got to spray it. He's got to take care of it. I said, there's so much more goes into it. And I tell people all the time, I said, you got to quit biting the hand that feeds you. If you want to hunt on a guy's place, yeah, just like you said, roll up with a sticker that says I'm anti-farming, or
that's not good.
or else you bash farmers online. I'm like,
Biden.
How are you going to hunt in a state that has 96% private land? I mean, I just think that you catch more flies with hunting than you do vinegar, and it goes all the way around. There's good ranchers, there's good hunters, there's bad ranchers, and there's bad hunters. And it's like, you can't judge everybody on one person, and you just got to be polite and, offer. Like I said, people say the only reason I get to hunt is because I'm on TV. Well, I haven't been on TV my whole life.
Yeah.
And even just because we own our land, we have access to a lot of property because my dad made those relationships when we were kids.
Yeah.
You just hit on it.
You just hit on it. It's the relationships.
Yeah.
I didn't always have land to hunt. I've hunted public land. I've been all over. I mean, I've been all over hunting as well. You know what? Everyone told me it was impossible to find private land in Wyoming. I spent a week out there, and I had like 10,000 acres I had access to just because I walked around or drove around to these places and made the effort to talk to them and build that relationship and trust. Nobody does that anymore. And I can tell you one thing, I think these things have hurt that.
Yeah.
People just don't interact with each other. That's part of it. Yes, there's a lot of private land, and I can tell you that right now there's, especially with the property rights issue going on, especially with posting, that didn't help anything. That didn't help anything at all, especially in Western North Dakota. And I can tell you, until that changes, it's always going to be a stress point on that. And you know what? I don't understand it, because coming from states where my property was my property, I didn't have to put a sign out there. You couldn't come on the property without asking.
I'm going to get us back on topic here, guys. Hang on. I'm going to get a question right up here. So, all right, Clayton, we got a question here from Eric down South Dakota. If crossbows are too much, where do you draw the line on compound bows? There are so many things on compound bows that edge your advantage compared to traditional bows. Where do you draw the line?
Fair enough.
And I'm going to say you draw the line at that one is, like I said, one is shouldered like a rifle and one is drawn. And I would like to see that, because I remember a gentleman that came here, there was a draw lock. So he was disabled. He still shot a bow, but you cocked it like a crossbow. So then you still had to hold your bow and you still pulled your trigger, but there was a bar between it that held it at full draw. So it made it, you're still shooting your bow. You still had to do everything right. Where the crossbow, again, when the guys talk about, back in the that 1500s or whatever, the reason they use those suckers and crank them up is because they're pretty lethal. And that's the thing with them, is I think that you're able to aim them. And, what if a guy took your scope off your crossbow? Maybe that would be something to look at, that, because you're looking at, kind of like a muzzle loader.
What if you got bad eyes and you can't see, though?
Yeah, but you put a 9-power or you put a 9-power scope on a muzzle loader, and you can shoot at 300 yards. If you have a 1-power scope, it kind of they kind of made it so it was like an iron sight, because these muzzle loaders can shoot 400 yards, 500 yards now. And
if you do that, then you got to take the pins off the compound bows.
So you're not shooting magnified scope on a crossbow.
Right, but there's scopes that you can't have magnification. They're zero powers. There's just drops in them.
There's zero power in the crossbow scopes.
You can get them like that. Yeah, a lot of states have it. That's.
But what I know, and that's what I'm saying, is that most of the ones I've looked through aren't zero power. I don't know what our rules are in North Dakota. Do you have to use a zero power?
I don't know. I'll tell you the truth.
I don't either. I bought mine at Shields, and I said, "You sure I can have a 3-power?" Yeah, we sell them. I said, "All right."
Right. So I'm just saying is that might be something that would even the playing field, so that people wouldn't be so. And all this stuff I'm saying, Jamie and Clay, is that I'm thinking that this is a lot of what the bow hunting community says.
But it didn't matter when them guys were shooting on Chris B, man. They're all their groups were inside of a basketball at 100.
and again, I would say that, and again, like I said, if I took 20 guys that have never shot a bow, and I set up a bow for them, and I took a crossbow and set it up, who do you think would have better groups? It's just easier to shoot a crossbow.
Well, I'll tell you what happened to me before I got a crossbow. Like a year before, I can't remember if it was my neighbor Troy or my brother-in-law. They're both big bow guys, and we went out to my mom and her husband's place west of Mandan, and at 40 yards, I said, "Let's do, let's shoot a group here." And I had a crossbow then, but I didn't have a permit for it. I can tell you right now that I shot a better group offhand with that bow because that thing was way more balanced and way light. My crossbow weighs 7 pounds, and that I guarantee I shot like a grapefruit group with 40 yards with that thing, with that trigger. Because when I shot, John, it was recurve. I have my fingers and a thing in my arm so the string wouldn't get way back. I don't remember what bow it was, but that's what I grew up shooting. Yep. And I had that thing in the pins and that trigger release, and I was like, this thing's freaking easy as hell. And I shot a group with that, and I destroyed my crossbow with the recurve, but the compound bow.
And let's not forget,
I thought that was easy. I'm like, man, how can you miss with this thing? This is 40 yards.
I think
we actually did a deal. Remember, we had you and Eric shooting crossbow versus bow. Now, I wouldn't exactly call you guys experts. It was what I would say novice shooting. Was there a little advantage maybe on the crossbow? Little. But it really wasn't a whole lot
just
different.
Like they did at 100. It was, right. I mean, the difference is, in my opinion, minuscule.
And Eric points out here, he says that an 80% let off, that's not much to hold for a long time. So it's not much different than the crossbow to hold. And that I got a buddy that has killed 2 antelope at 118 yards with his compound bow, went less than 20. I mean, I don't know what he just said there because I'm not a bow hunter, but that was a comment.
And again, I'll say this, like I said, I think that if you're shooting offhand with a crossbow versus a bow, you're going to probably shoot better with a bow because they're made to shoot. But 90% of the people shoot a crossbow with a bog pod or a tripod. Then it's a game. It's no different than shooting your rifle. I have never killed a deer since I was a kid without being on a tripod. I mean, on a bipod. I'm not an offhand shooter. Yeah, I don't shoot at running deer. I shoot at standing deer.
Well, I do too, but I've done a ton of offhand standing.
Right, and I haven't. Like I said, that's the difference between you and I because you shoot your rifle a lot and I don't.
I shoot it a lot. Well, it's like you said, you're putting the time in.
Right.
And so I put a lot of time in.
I think what people's fear is that because it takes so much time and practice to be, I've been shooting bow my whole life. And you get target panic and you go through these things and it's a constant. You just don't put your bow down and pick it up and go hunt the next year. You constantly practice. With a crossbow, I think the fear is that you don't. It's kind of like a gun. Like I said, you can pick it up because it's sighted in. You can use a rest. You're going to be pretty consistent. Like I said, I can almost guarantee you that if you put it on a bog pod at 40, 50 yards, you're going to be shooting.
Oh, I agree with you there. There's no doubt about it. If you're on a rest,
yeah, you're going to shoot darts, and I think that's what most people see. I don't think. And again, that's where that whole thing comes in is like.
So I'm going to throw this out here just because I like to be devil's advocate on it. We're looking at an archery season. You let crossbow hunters, let's say we put them in there. We're going to have a good experiment come after Minnesota after their first one.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I look at it is, so you got guys out there with more accuracy, possibly. Maybe you're bringing more people in. And the worst case scenario is it goes to a draw for an archery tag. Why is that any different than the rest of us? Why should you guys have that specific niche out there?
Because we're bow hunters. We always get what we want.
There you go. We got that.
And again, like I told you, I'm selfish, Clay, because we've been doing it since I've been a kid. It's always been that way, and we want that's I think what they fight for. And I'm a firm believer that we are maxed out on hunters. As much as I bring kids,
I think there's too many, to be honest with you,
I
John.
think we're maxed out on hunters. And the easier we make it, and look at what COVID did, and it changed things, and everybody started hunting. And it's like when people come to me and say, I can't find a place to hunt, I'm going to quit. I'm like, yeah, okay. Because I'm the guy that will never quit hunting. I'm not
ever going to quit hunting either. And I guess I look at it this way, like when I go to other states, now I don't do as much of it as I used to. I got other things going on, but I'm telling you right now, I do hunt my own state here. But when I go to them places, I didn't just, oh, I'm going to go apply to this place because it's got the most tags in this unit. I went out there and tried to find out, okay, do I know anybody in this area? I might even make a trip out there in the middle of summer and talk to these people that are in the area and see what the opportunities are. That's the background stuff and the relationship building. And to me, that's one of the biggest downfalls is why we don't have hunting land. But I guess I don't know if we got too many hunters. I think we got too many sloppy hunters.
Well, and that is true. And like you said, so, tomorrow I'm going to Wyoming.
Yep.
And we hunt a private ranch out there. I pay a trespass fee. I have no problems paying a rancher $500 or $300 or whatever they charge. I'm not going to pay a guy $5,000.
No. No.
I'm a school teacher, but I will pay a guy $500. I'm stopping at another place I hunt. I'm dropping off tree stands for him. If he's working cattle, we're working cattle. If he's haying, we hay. It's one of those things that I have been taught that way. And these are people that I talk to not right before the hunting season. I call them almost monthly just to see how the moisture's doing,
right,
how they're doing. And then when I'm coming that way, do you guys need anything? We usually bring them fish because they don't fish. I am so about the relationship because that's why I hunt these places. And they're not that world-class hunting. It's just good hunting. We have a great time. We get to stay in their old ranch houses. We pay the people that own the ranch house, a couple $100 for staying there. We clean it up, take care of it.
Well, it's an experience. That's what it's supposed to be,
Well,
really.
Before we get something else, I'm going to say one more thing, John. We got a mutual friend who's a teacher. I don't want to say his name, but he hunts with me all the time. Same guy, my brother-in-law. We were out east of Mandan. He never shot a compound bow in his life. 30 yards we put not only once, but twice. Just a little 12-ounce bottle of water. He pegged that thing right in the middle both times. Never in his life has he shot a compound bow before. Nailed that, daggered it. So I'm not sold on accuracy thing, man. I mean,
I put $100 bill on it that we take 20 people that have never shot either one, and it's going to go. It's no different. Like I said, you can't defy. I've shot bow enough, whether it's recurve, where it's compound bow. Shooting a gun is 1,000 times easier to pull the trigger and hit.
Well, yeah, but you got a trigger on a bow. Them things are like 2-pound triggers on there.
Yeah, again, but I'm still saying is that when you're holding, like I said, I'm not talking, like I said, guys that have been shooting a bow for a long time are good. Like I said, it's because they've spent so much time doing it, so that this equipment has gotten better, and so they can shoot an animal at 100 yards. Do I think they should be shooting at 100 yards? Absolutely not. I don't care how good a shot you are. And some guys will argue with me all the time. There's too many variables in that, and that's the same with shooting a rifle. To me, shooting at an animal at 1,000 yards, unless you're shooting at a prairie dog or a coyote, I see no reason. It's like no matter how good a shot you are.
So I'm going to challenge you on that because I am a long range shooter. In fact,
Yeah.
David, who's listening, is too. I can tell you right now, yes, you got variables of win, but if you know that what you got, you take the right tool for that job. When we went out to Rock Springs, we were on that range shooting the mile, 1,760 yards. We had wind going full values this way, but you know what? We still hit our target. And I can tell you that the target I hit would have dropped the deer.
Right. And again,
but that came with years and years, like you're talking, of shooting. I didn't come to that overnight.
So here's the deal on that, Clay. I understand that. That's like I went out to the range out here and I was shooting at 500 yards. I was kind of surprised at how easy it was to shoot with my new gun. Mm-hmm. But shooting at an animal at 1,000 yards and it farts and takes a step forward, what happens? Because that takes that bullet a little bit of time. Where if you shoot them at 200 yards and they take a step, you're still going to hit them in the goodies. And that's only
a 338 Lapua, or you step it up to a 4. I'm
right.
telling what I do. I have. That's what you shoot at that distance.
Yeah.
See, that's the difference. I know rifles. You know bows.
Right.
I'm not going to go out there and take a shot at 1,000, 12, 1,500 yards at an animal with my 270. Not going to happen because it's the wrong tool for the situation. Right. Get the right tool.
Right. But you'll have to agree with me that 90% of the guys don't have the right tools, and 90% of the guys shouldn't be shooting at 800 yards.
There's a lot of guys shouldn't be shooting at 100 yards from what I've seen.
Right. and that's the same thing I always say with archery, because I think it's one of those deals that I just feel that when I hit an animal poorly, I shot an antelope one time at 30 yards, and I hit him in the spine. That wasn't where I was aiming. He dropped a little bit, but I hit him in the spine. I did not mount him because of that. He was a beautiful animal. It ruined I want that. I have that perfect thing in my mind. I owe it to that animal to kill him the best way I possibly can. And I just think that with technology and TV and with these events that, and again, it's fun to shoot at targets. Like I said, I think it is, but I think a lot of guys out there, whether it's with a crossbow, whether it's a bow, it's like, if I'm not 100% positive I'm going to kill that animal, I don't want to shoot him. And that's just me. Maybe that's me. I think there's a lot of guys that still pull the trigger as they're running over the hill.
I think you and I can definitely agree on that. I don't want that animal to suffer any more than anything. That's dumb. But I can tell you that I feel very comfortable. Now, do I go out and doing 1,000 yard and 1,760 or 13? Not generally, but I am capable of it. Most of my shots, and I'll tell you flat out, they're 200 yards or less because that's where I really like them.
Well, hey, you and me, buddy, I'm a top 10. I've shot in 40 years of killing deer, I've shot one deer at 40 yards. The rest of them been inside of 30 yards. And with rifle hunting, 300 yards is my furthest shot. Yeah. And most of them have been within right at that 200. I just try to get, in a way our ranch is set up in the places we hunt. Yeah. You're filming. I want it to be close. I don't think that seeing an animal that's a dot out there is not fun to watch. And so, and that's my personal preference. I'm saying there are guys that are qualified to shoot at that distance, and I know they will probably do that. But it's kind of become a big fad, don't you think? Where guys,
you got the shows out there, and what that did is with anything, everybody's got to go out and try it. And they
Burnsworth is that guy's name.
Jim Burnsworth. There you go. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, exactly. You got his last name. I got his first name on Sunday. Yeah, whatever. Where you at, Jim? Come on back, man. I loved watching your. So hey, going on the distance thing. One of the guys on that too. One of the guys on the podcast said they make it sound like people with crossbows they're only 60 yards is their maximum range, and he pretty much said crossbow hunters are full of male bovine excrement there. And I can tell you this, John, I've shot 2 bucks with my crossbow. First one I got was out of my ground blind at 19 yards. It's a whitetail. He's mounted. He's in velvet up here. Probably never put tape to it, but it's probably about 140. And the other one was a mule deer. Definitely nothing impressive on him. That was spot and stock. I definitely enjoy spot and stock way more, but I can tell you, carrying that 7-pound crossbow around sucked. And I missed a giant mule deer and I think it's because that thing was cocked for like 2 hours. I was waiting there. I think the thing lost power, and I went underneath it twice. I went underneath the sucker twice on that.
You sure it wasn't because you're just a lousy shot?
It was offhand. See, there you go. Maybe it went right underneath his chest, and the other one went right next to him at 70 yards. So, and hey, when I laid down and did it, and it was right on at 70. So that's what I'm saying. Offhand.
I think that's true. Like I said, offhand. Yeah. Like you said, it's amazing how, when you're a kid, we used to shoot offhand a lot, shooting gophers and things like that. I don't do it enough anymore.
And like people own crossbows, so we're talking about the Raven. All of us here know who Mayor Bakken is, right? He's got a Raven. He's had a Raven for 3 years. Guess how many times he's went bow hunting with that Raven? That many times, right? And I know a couple other guys who have crossbows. One guy got one deer with it, and that was it. And the other guys got them because they thought it was cool, and they got a crossbow license. They never went. So maybe in some states that's going to be a problem, but in North Dakota, man, I just think people are going to buy them. And like I said, what are you going to do with it if you got nowhere to hunt? You're not going to use it.
No, and I think that, like I said, one of the things that anytime you go forward to something, there's no turning back. So if we open up crossbows to archery and say that it does increase and changes things, we're never going to go back the other way. And that's, like I said, if we ever go, and again, like Clay said, is it fair or not fair? It's one of those deals that I would struggle not getting, as a landowner, not getting my bow tag and my rifle tag for the amount of work I do. That not only benefits me, but benefits everybody around me.
So
I would struggle a little bit with that because that's what we're used to. If we grew up only having one tag, then it may be a different. And I'm one of those guys that I absolutely hate change.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with you on that.
That's our human nature, I think.
Have you ever seen like just its own like crossbow shop or not?
Not just a plain crossbow. It's usually they run them together that I've seen.
One of the things they said too was that crossbow, that's definitely not archery tackle. That there's no way that should be considered art. Well, hey, every archery shop I've been in, guess what? They sell crossbows in there.
And again, I think some of that is like I think that when a guy starts talking, he starts talking more personal preference. Because again, archery, it shoots a bolt, which is like an arrow. It's got limbs. So it's, is it the exact same thing? No, because it's got a stock on it, but it's pretty close. I mean, it's like, it's like apples and oranges, or is it like apples?
Well, if you miss, man, I can tell you can knock another arrow way faster than you can get another bolt in a crossbow.
And most of the time you don't get another shot. I think it's one of those deals that I don't know if there's a right answer or a wrong answer. There's different states. The easiest way to do it would be have a separate season for it and see how it goes.
I mean, right now there's going to be essentially 31 states when I went and looked at this where it's going to be legal to have them in any season.
Archery season, right?
Yep. And then 34 states that actually allow it, but it's with exceptions, say medical, but things like what you have, Jamie. I went and looked at the guy's stuff to see, he was a little off on some of it, but depends on the source you get. But it looks like to me you can comfortably say over half the states in the United States allow crossbows within their archery seasons. Right. Now, a lot of them states do have larger populations. I'm really looking forward to Minnesota, even though they got a lot of population there. Yeah. I think they're probably a lot closer to us as far as what's going to happen.
Well, Clay, remember what the guy said in the archery shop there? He said we normally sell about one a month. And he goes, he said, I'm not even looking at the books or anything. He goes, maybe now that it's legal, we've sold one a week. He said, maybe. Yep. I don't know, John. Maybe next time you're in Shields, ask them guys how many they sell there. I'd kind of be curious to know what it is here.
Right. Yeah. And again, I think that the one thing I would be for like if a guy is, like you said, 75 years old, and you've bow hunted all your life, I mean, why wouldn't you want that guy to continue hunting to be able to use a crossbow?
Yeah.
Our law right now is that you have to have, he had a medical doctor excuse. His doctor gave him the excuse, but they did not accept it at the Game and Fish because he didn't have an injury. And it's to the point where it's like, if you can pull back 30 pounds, that was in one state. It's like South Dakota. I think if you pull 30 pounds in South Dakota, you can't get a crossbow permit. I don't know how strict they are on some of that stuff. And again, like you said, Clay, I'm looking at my stats here, and it was 25 states. Now it's up to like 32, like you said. Mm-hmm. And everything I read, it didn't seem like it changed the outcome, the biological deer management outcome, if that's what the Game is going for.
And that's what honestly they're probably
that's what their goal is, because that's why Montana always tells us we manage numbers, we don't manage big bucks. Well, it's just kind of nice when they manage a little of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you're going to see your bigger animals generally on private land out there, because the private landowners are managing for quality.
Yep. Yeah, I mean it is, and it's just one of those deals that, I still love pulling the trigger. I mean, And we're all guilty. It's like, I'm going to pass up a 3.5-year-old deer that's 135, 140 inches on my place. But if I go to South Dakota and I got 3 days to hunt, I'm sending it.
And I can tell you flat out, I've been out to Wyoming several times hunting elk. I do not have an elk hanging on my wall. It isn't because I didn't see any. I wanted the nice one. And we were hunting public land. I guess when I go hunt something, especially if it's something like that, and I've usually put a lot of time and dollars into it, so I want what I want. If I can't, now here's what would have been great. If I'd have had a cow tag, I could have taken a cow several times. Same as I was in Colorado, but I couldn't because I didn't have it. It was.
And I always tell people the same thing. I said when we hunt, it all depends on where we're hunting. I try to shoot a mature animal. I'd rather shoot a mature animal that doesn't have a big rack than shoot a young.
Yeah, I've actually done that.
Jason got on here when I was talking about that buck fever. Jason, you're right, because I saw this buck coming, big 4x4 muley in velvet. I think it was opening weekend a couple years ago, and man, he didn't go where I thought, and I looked up and he was standing there, but he stood there when I ranged him at 60, and boy, I thought I had a good hold too, and it went right underneath him, and I actually went up there, and he went down another ravine, and I came over and had another crack at him, and like I said, I thought I was holding. I swear, I think because that thing was, them limbs are cocked back all the way. I was sitting there because I come in dark, right? And I was sitting there 2.5 hours. And by the time I got to, man, I bet you it was almost 3 hours. And there's no way you can tell me if them things are cocked back that they don't lose some power to kick that arrow out. And it's like a spring being compressed. And man, it probably I don't know if it was buck fever, but I'll guarantee he was in velvet. It was probably, you were excited. Velvet, he was probably 160 incher. But John, you see him in velvet and clay, and them things look like they're. He was a big wide sucker too. He probably was about 27 inches wide, but I don't know. I never did see him again after that day. So yeah, probably some buck fever in there, But
I still get it, man.
I get worse than I get older now. Actually.
Well, wouldn't you guys agree that no matter how old we get and how many deer we've taken, when you see the nice one, I don't know, I still get excited. You just kind of got to calm yourself down, because otherwise you're going to screw up.
When I decide to shoot a doe, I get that way.
Well,
it's like, they walk by and I'm like, no big deal, no big deal. And then it's like, I'm going to take a doe. Then I start shaking.
Then it's like, now the adrenaline.
Yep. When I lose that adrenaline is the day I need to quit hunting, because that's what it's the fun is, the excitement of doing that.
Why don't you put Scott Becker's comment up here, Clayton?
Yes. Yeah, I don't know Scott, but Scott says, I'm blessed to keep bow hunting. Didn't even know you can get a crossbow permit when I got my shoulder injury. Still not that easy in an archery format. That's why I love bow season. So
yeah, and I'm not. Scott, I can definitely appreciate people's passion for it. I'm passionate about it. About a lot of things actually, but like I said before, just the way they came across and we're talking about when I listened to it, it almost, I almost took it personally, like they were belittling me about it, and they kind of took a little shot at some rifle hunting there, and saying like you're not really that good of a hunter. These crossbow guys are like rifle hunters; they don't practice. Did
you catch the one thing you said about having a crossbow? You were talking about New York, and I guess I took a little exception to that. But
He said, basically, are you guys getting soft in your old age?
Must be. I'm sitting there going, so he's saying I'm basically a poacher because I had my crossbow in the pickup. I mean, that's pretty much what he said.
One of his kids actually was pushing back on that pretty good.
Listen to this podcast.
Yeah. So the whole thing.
They banned. What happened was, John, they banned. One of his boys said they banned hunting with crossbows in New York, and he said why, and then David said, well, probably because of poachers, and then the kid's like, well, it's already illegal.
Right away.
Yeah, they got to be kind of a testy back and forth with each other there, and
and that's what I like listening. I know them personally, and it's funny when they start arguing because they used to argue pretty bad.
It's an enjoyable. They got a good podcast, and like I said,
I think they knew I think even David said, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but I'm going to say,
yeah.
And again,
he was getting lit up in the comments pretty good. I read like 200 of them, and I was like, man, you got about 2% in your face. And Clay and I actually had a post. One of our polls here about a month ago about crossbows, and it was 80% Clayton, that people agreed with us that crossbows should be allowed here. So, I'm more than happy to discuss it with these guys if they want to do it, man. I got a lot more questions for them.
Exactly why when you contacted Jamie, John, I thought it was a great idea. I mean, we're probably not on. I know we're not on the same page as far as that goes, but we can have this discussion. Right. And we're going to probably walk away and have a beer someday when we're up in Bismarck.
And here's my thing when I would say, and I'm going to say to Jamie on live here, and I'll tell it's like my deal with the whole thing. What set me off was that the holders were just talking about crossbows in general, and because what happens nowadays is we get so offended so fast, and then we attack someone personally, and Jamie doesn't. It's like, whether you know me, you guys know me. So it's like, you don't know David Holder. Some of the things they said you didn't agree with. Correct. That's great.
Most of it when I listen to it, I disagree.
I just don't like when people attack other people right away and say that they're a clown or they're this or they believe in this. And it's like, you got to take it with a grain of salt that everybody, and this is what I always say that separates us good conservatives with the left. Don't cancel them. You didn't agree with them, have a conversation with them. Don't personally attack them because they are really good people and they're doing great things for hunting and the hunting industry. It's just something that that you guys may never agree upon.
Right.
And again, the way they said it maybe shouldn't have been said.
Yeah,
but they weren't saying Jamie's a clown because he uses a crossbow. In general, and that's the thing is I think sometimes we just get too personal. And I'm one of those guys that I'm going to stick up. If someone said Jamie's or Clay are a bunch of crackpot and I'm like, do you know them? I said, yeah, they're a little crazy. I said, they don't hold back a lot, but I said, you got.
I'm pretty shy. You got to
know them before you can start talking smack about people.
And I can tell you this: I went and listened to the whole podcast. And you're right. When we had just heard that clip, I can tell you my opinion of him did not get better after listening to the entire podcast. Now maybe I need to meet the gentleman in person.
Mine didn't either because
it comes across to me as.
But remember,
I thought it got harder on people actually.
Well, like I said, I'll have to listen to all of it because I listened to the first.
I listened to it twice.
Listen to the whole thing. I know I'd listened to it.
I know those guys, and I know that they're not. And I thought I remember David saying multiple times that I'm not against crossbows. I just don't want them in the. And again, you're talking about they live in Iowa, looking at the Iowa season and how things are. I think it's one of those deals. It's their personal opinion that they just don't want crossbows in this season. I don't think.
Well, the one guy, like I said, he said they're pretty much just like rifle hunters. They go out and they just get a tag and they don't practice, and pretty much just like you're some dude who doesn't give a crap, and you got a crossbow and you're gonna go out and one guy, you're walking under my tree stand, and I'm like, well, where are you hunting if they're walking under your tree stand? I mean. I didn't get that. And then, you don't practice. You're not passionate about it. I can tell you, there ain't a lot more people more passionate about hunting than myself. So,
but you got to remember, Jamie, he wasn't attacking you personally. He wasn't.
I mean, when you say that about crossbows, I'm a crossbow hunter.
It might be his experience in crossbows. Is what I'm saying to people. You can't lump everybody in just because someone says something. And that's what I get so frustrated with this world is that. If you don't agree with somebody right away, and I get it being the guy on TV, and guys will be like, they'll start hammering me and saying, I don't let anybody. You're a landowner. You don't let anybody hunt. You suck because you don't ever let anybody hunt. You're a hog. And it's like I called the guy and I said, do you know who I am? And he goes, yeah, I know who you are. You're on TV and you don't let anybody. I'm like, do you know who I am? Have you ever met me? Did I do something to piss you off? Well, no, but you hunted this guy's place and you hunt all these private places. I said, two places you mentioned, I hunted 25 years ago when I was a kid. And I said, you don't know nothing about me. I said, you said I don't take kids hunting. I said, do I need to roll out my resume? I said, do you know how many vets I've taken hunting? You know how many older people? I said, you know nothing about me, but people get on the internet and it's like they get so offended and then they just start freaking spewing stuff. And I said, maybe I'm a little oversensitive with this stuff because I'm thinking that.
You're getting old and cranky like me and Clay.
I am. Like I said, I'm going to get that t-shirt that says I have 3 friends and 2 of them are me and myself.
And I think it comes down to their social and internet and social media has made this worse. There's not just this aspect, all aspects. You got keyboard warriors. And they just spout off whatever the hell they want to say with no retribution whatsoever. Back in my day, if you spouted off something stupid like that, guess what? You ended up in the ballpark having a fight after school. I mean,
and I'm all for accountability. I'm the guy that's like, I want to bring that back on the playground, but that don't work.
Yeah, I mean, so you you either learned a lesson or you got your ass
and that's why I think like a podcast like this, and again, when the holders have theirs, and if they're against each other, it makes it easier because then you hear both sides of it. But when you're just talking, I think they were just talking in general. If there had been someone that was a crossbow hunter, I don't think it would have come across as aggressive towards crossbow because there would have been someone saying, like we're talking right now, where it's not like, a big deal. And I think that's, like I said, I just, like I said, they're not perfect people by any means, and like I said,
who is?
there are good people, and they do a lot for hunting. And like I said, and again, I know that they would love, they would come on here. Like I said, they're not.
Well, how many can we get on here, Clay?
I'd have to look. I know we're not very limited. We got a pretty good package.
Yeah, we might.
here.
Hey, John, we might be able to get us 3 and them 3 on here. So
like
the
I said,
biggest
and I know,
thing.
hey, we're small fries compared to them guys, but I mean, we can still have a great conversation about it.
You got to remember, they started 14 years ago. I helped them get on TV out in Montana because they lived out in Olney, out there by way out west, by what's the big lake out there?
Flathead.
Yeah, Flathead.
I know that because our fellow teacher friends out there right now.
Yeah, because like, they'd send trail cam pictures. They'd have wolves and mountain lions and grizzly bears, and they wanted to move to. They had a show for a while, and then moved out to Iowa, and then they got a new production. And then, like I said, they kind of set the world on fire with the new way they did things. And we started that camp together. And again, they're just like you guys are. They're not big gun hunters, but they have learned to start, doing more with guns. I brought them out here. We shot prairie dogs when they were kids. Oh, yeah. Absolutely loved it. So they're good people.
Awesome. Well, hey, I figured they were, but when it just came to this crossbow deal, it kind of.
I know you got your undies in a bind there, buddy. It's okay. Yeah. I get that way too. I'm the guy that has to delete a lot of messages that I send to people because when people start attacking my daughter and you start doing things on YouTube and stuff like that, and you kill a bear and you get your kid called names, it's like I'm looking for addresses, man. I'm looking for places to find people.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. It'd be tough. I'm not there. And your daughter's pretty big part of your show too, so that she's even more famous than most people's kids. So
tell you what, let's take one quick break, then we'll come back and we're
gonna do the double, Clay. You want to play the double because I'm gonna go take care of something. I'll be back here
so Jamie needs a break. Okay.
Yeah. Ooh, all right, guys. I gotta go to the rage room, boys.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll come back up and we'll probably do one more segment, and we're gonna call this a night. So here we go.
The 701 is proud to be sponsored by Lauer Auto Repair, located at 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota. If you can't stop by, feel free to give them a call at 701-258-6308. Doug and the guys are ardent Second Amendment supporters and will always shoot straight with service and fair pricing. It's been a long winter with lots of snow, ice, and rough roads, so now's the time to get that alignment checked from the curb shots, potholes, and bumpy snow-covered roads. Summer will be here before you know it, so get that rig scheduled for an AC charge. Make sure and tell the guys at Lowry you heard the sponsored Guns in the 701 and thank them for supporting and promoting our Second Amendment civil right. That's Lauer Auto Repair, 309 South Washington Street, Bismarck, North Dakota, 701-258-6308. Your North Dakota proud, patriotic auto repair service.
Guns in the 701 is sponsored by the Blind Guy of North Dakota. For all your custom window coverings, you can contact them at 701-222-3932. They're freedom-minded, they're patriotic, and they love the Second Amendment. This husband-wife team was born and raised right here in North Dakota and based out of Bismarck. Again, for your Second Amendment company, for all your custom window coverings, the Blind Guy of North Dakota, 701-222-3932, or visit them on the web at blindguynd.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. And yeah, we can't say enough about our sponsors, Lauer Auto Repair down there, 309 South Washington. Hit them up there, guys, and you're not going to be disappointed. 701-258-6308. And then the Blind Guy in North Dakota, Wyatt and Tammy do a fantastic job for custom blinds. Hit blindguynd.com, and they'll get you set up today with some really sweet blinds. So thanks to our patriotic sponsors, we can't do it without them.
Hey, John, you want to mention your sponsors again, my friend? Have at it, buddy.
I got to look. I got Keller Hearth and Home, big sponsor. Action Motorsports. Action Motorsports has been good. Dakota Taxidermy. Badlands Delicious Pizza.
Awesome. They are good. They are good pizzas, actually.
Yeah.
Are you writing these down, Jamie? We got to go visit them.
Verge Fitness. We got Glenn's Welding.
Awesome. Good guys.
We got a Mandan Prairie Supply. We've got some great sponsors. 3B Meats, Steel Chainsaws. I just got on this year.
Dang.
So it's
Awesome.
been going
Right.
good. And if I missed
Good.
anybody, I apologize.
John, I'm going to have a talk with you off air one of these times. Me and Clay, we got to figure out how to get some sponsors, because I don't know if you know Andy Elliott from Blade Rain TV.
Yep.
Andy's got a lot of sponsors too. Me and Clay are like, dang, how are these guys getting all these
Well,
sponsors?
and again, I'm going to tell you this. There's a difference between my spot, and I know Andy a little bit, okay, just from on, so I can't speak for him, but most of the guys with sponsorship, there's a difference between getting paid and getting a discount and getting free stuff. And
for sure.
You go, when you first start, when we were
I'm
kids,
down with anything.
Yeah, when we were kids and we got I remember I got a pack of Thunderhead broadhead sent to me in a hat. And I was like, whoa, and then after a while, I'm like, okay, this free shit doesn't pay the bills. And so that's why we've stayed regional or local, because these local sponsors have always been taking care of us. They pay our airtime and we make enough money that we continue to go down the road. It's a big, there's not many people that make a living on outdoor TV. And
Oh, you must be rich, aren't you?
Yeah, we're not.
Well, I can tell you this, Clay and I, we definitely are not trying to be like national guys. We want to keep it regional too, and we're not looking to get rich. And we haven't really pushed any advertisement stuff. We're going to start hitting it with people for sponsors, but yeah, we're not trying to be Clay and Buck. We're Clay and JD, and that's what it's going to be. So.
Let's face it, this was never on my bucket list to do, Jamie.
No,
that's the farthest thing from my mind.
And that's the way it was with us. And then we started. It's like you had a couple sponsors, and we've been fortunate that it's 20 years this year on TV. And
awesome, man.
We're coming up on our 1 year here. Wasn't about.
There you go. That's awesome. And like I said, before you know it, you'll be an old guy like me, and it'll be 20 years.
Yeah, I'm getting plenty gray.
And I will say our gear has been starting to take off. People are buying that. We got our store up and running now, and so I mean that helps out too.
We have to get you a cap, John.
Yeah, I think. Well, I wear it. Like I said, I think it's awesome what you guys are doing, and it's like,
so are you still sponsored by Hoyt then? Because you're wearing.
Yep.
I would say that. So that video that I sent you and Clay on that 100-yard thing with the Hoyt bow and the Raven. Yep. I got to admit to you, John, I was pretty damn impressed with how that guy was shooting that. That combo.
So I gotta throw something in on there.
My daughter's boyfriend can shoot his whole family. The two boys. They're 20 years old, 21 years old. Mm-hmm. Those guys can shoot at 100 yards like I shoot at 20 yards.
That's
it's just
bad.
insane.
They got good eyes, though. Remember that too.
Yeah, it's insane how these kids shoot now.
Yeah, it is.
The equipment, isn't like, it's not. In the last 10 years, bows haven't gotten any. They don't get faster. They just get quieter, easier draw.
You still got to hold it steady, man, and release the string.
And it takes a lot of skill. And I got target panic, was the worst thing that I've ever gotten. I couldn't believe that it even happened to me. I mean, it was like you would start punching the trigger and you'd be missing the target because your brain can't aim and you can't do two things at once. And you start telling yourself that you could do it, and it happens one time and then you do it again. But it's something that I have avoided for like 30 years of my life, and then it hit me. But yeah, some of these kids are truly amazing. And when you watch these recurve shooters that shoot Olympics, they're shooting 90 meters.
Yeah, it's crazy. Those guys, those people are amazing. Go ahead.
And I'll give you a little, that video you showed. I just got to tell you, what they did was they shot 4 shots, and they did it 4 times? And
5.
5.
Okay. 5 rounds and 4 bolts and arrows each.
So I wrote down the final number. With the bolt was 91.5 inches, and with the
total inch groups, they measured their groups
total
in
inch
inches.
groups, was 83.5. That was an 8-inch difference, and it would have fit in basically.
All of them were in basketball. I mean, the one guy, I think they each had maybe one flyer out of each one. That was kind of.
Yep. So I mean, very impressive.
I'm going to tell you that kid, Crispy Real. Mm-hmm. He's like making a living right now, going across the country. He's like John Dudley. If you know John Dudley, is a big archer that goes to all these events. These guys are. I'm not going to say world class because they're not like Olympic shooters, but they're as good as they get in the industry as far as shooting. I mean, these guys
can tell. That guy, he's passionate. He does it a lot. I tip my hat because I can't shoot like that.
There's a few guys. Levi Morgan is one of them that I think the guys. I shouldn't speak, but I know he's killed animals. That guy can shoot. He's one of the few guys that I would say could probably consistently kill something at 100 yards. That guy's he wins all these 3D tournaments, and there's, I mean,
It looks like fun, by the way.
I can tell you this, and this probably surprise a lot of people. Both my boys have bows. They like to shoot them. That's kind of what I started them on.
Man, I grew
when
up
they
with
were real
a bow.
young.
It was recurve though.
And I've even shot their bow. I bought them bow. I went and I'm going to give this going to be a free plug for Shields because I went in there and I tell you what, the guy who was in the back, and I can't remember his name. He's the guy that came to me. You know, he came over and talked. I was completely ignorant to what bows were, and he did not take advantage of that. He got us set up with the right bows, something the boys could grow into even into their teen years. And you know what? It was a lot of fun. Even I've shot those bows, and I was actually surprisingly accurate for never shooting a bow. And the boys are, I don't know if there's natural talent. I don't know that a lot about bows, but I'm telling you what, they were putting some good groups down range with those bows.
The Shields archery department, those guys are awesome, man. Even when
they did a great job.
Crossbows,
They did a great job.
I just went into Zach Kemmer. I've been hunting and shooting bow my whole life, but I have the same knowledge of my bow and tuning it as I do with ballistics and things with my gun. I'm just not a numbers guy. And I take it to the guys that know, and I talk to the guys that know. I'm smart enough to do that. And Zach Kemmer, I was getting a little bit of tail wobble. And to me, an arrow is supposed to be magical, like Ted Nugent says, the mystical flight.
Yeah, the mystical flight of the arrow. Yeah.
There you go.
And I went in there and he did a few things. I came home and shot it, and it's shooting like just darts. And I love it.
They did a great job in there. So I got to put this comment up here.
Yeah, go for it, Clayton.
So this is one of your fans. Not good. You can't see the whole thing, can you guys?
Yeah, I can.
Can you see it right there?
Yeah, I can see all of it.
Oh,
I can't see it on the side. It says from Scott Becker, not true. You need to practice. I'm very passionate for archery. It killed me when I had to put my bow down. There's a few seasons I was unsuccessful. Just being out there archery hunting is amazing. My daughters are 8 and 6, and the expectations was
the experience.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Clay. I guess I can't read it.
So yeah, that's why I was wondering. So he goes on. He says the experience was unbelievable. Lots of emotion. He says whether it's a crossbow, bow, or gun, it's about being in the outdoors and raising the next generation right. I'm a big UOA fan, and I just got into guns in the 701 on K-Fire. Keep it up, guys. Great representation of our passion. Yeah, appreciate that, Scott, and I'm sure Don does too.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you very much. And that's the thing is, like, it's one of those deals that it's all about being out there, you know. Yep. And again, it's like I don't think there's a wrong or right on this crossbow thing. I just, like I said, the thing thrown out there is I think what most bow hunters worry about. And again, when you come from a two tag or situation, and Jamie, you use your archery tag, and it would hurt if you lost that tag.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what I do, John. If I got a rifle tag, I don't hunt archery. And next year, if I don't draw a rifle tag, and I'm gonna get my archery tag. And like I said, 2011 is when I got my crossbow license. 2013, I've killed 2. I told you they got the whitetail buck, and there's some other ones. Honestly, John, I could kill a doe anytime I want. This might piss some people off, but I'm out there. I hunt for antlers, and like I said, the muley I got, not big. He was probably 142, but I put the spot and stock on this sucker. He wasn't my initial target. He was bedded down with 3 other bucks. There was a huge 3x3 with them. They got up and I seen him, and I tell you, the adrenaline pumped on me. It was 30-yard shot. Didn't go exactly where I wanted. It went back actually, but what do you call the artery under the spine there? I hit him there a little back, and man, that sucker pumped like there was an electric pump. And when I gutted him out, he went about 80 yards and dropped dead. My dad come out, helped me. I called him and come out, and there wasn't much blood left in him. So whatever artery that was, I can't remember right now. But like I said, it wasn't nothing special. And I can tell you this: when it comes to kill time, whether it's a gun or that bow, man. To that point when you know it's going down, my blood, I can tell you this, and I'm definitely more of a rifle hunter. My blood was pumping just as damn hard on that buck with my bow as it was with the rifle. It was an experience that I'd love to relive it again, and hopefully I will. It was great.
I think as archers or bow hunters or crossbow or rifle or whatever you do, you can't explain it to somebody that hasn't done it. my daughter shot a deer one time. She decided not to play college volleyball. Took time and came out, and when she smoked this deer and she turned and looked at the camera, it was the most delightful and joy. It will stick in my mind forever. She goes, there is no feeling, nothing in the world like this, and there is.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh, I agree, man.
and it's you can
Emotions go through you.
Sadistic or whatever, but it's not that. It's all the work that you put into it. It's everything that goes into it. It's like, I live deer hunting 365 days a year. I'm thinking about doing something all the time. I put time and effort in it, and I don't have to kill an animal. This archery season, I got friends coming in. I'm just as excited to be running the camera for one of them and watching them be successful. I've been fortunate and blessed that, my dad had property, and he was smart enough when he was young to buy some property, and he handed it off to us kids. And, having that own dirt and doing all that work and all the hours of food plots and doing whatever you're doing, the fencing, everything you do, it all plays a part. And it just makes it so much sweeter when you have success. And there's been many times that I've had epic failures.
Oh, for sure.
But it's still fun.
The year I got that muley, John, I can tell you, I stocked, I'll bet you 5 other bucks that were, like I told you, I missed that one, and there was other ones, giant ones. And man, when I got busted, and it's disappointing. But and like a lot of people think, rifle, you just go out and you shoot.
No.
I mean, I've heard people say that, mostly young guys. It's so easy, you can go out and just kill a big one. Really, how many records you got on your wall, dude? Well, I got this and that, but
Killing a big animal is tough no matter what you're doing. No
exactly.
Rifle,
and
they didn't get big being dumb.
No.
Yeah. And you got hunting shacks, John. I do. And just because you have those doesn't mean you're sitting in there and you're just popping them out of that's happened to me one time.
I just saw Levi built the Taj Mahal, and I gave him so much crap. I'm like,
man,
dude, I said, that's built. I said, that's like an 80-year-old guy should have that. He goes, you got them. I said, ours are made out of concrete board. And I said, we don't even sit inside them. We just use them for wind blocks. I said, because I feel like I'm cheating when I'm sitting inside it. I said, I like to have the wind in my face. And Levi's he goes, I'm good. I'm good.
I've never given up the hunting blinds. Never.
I definitely want to build what you have, Jamie, but it's actually more for predator hunting. Honestly,
I've shot plenty of coyotes out of there. I mean, I've actually been listening to Scott's show, and he was talking about hunting coyotes, and I've shot a couple and sent him pictures, and he's like, "Oh, he's listening."
You got satellite TV in there too.
Yeah, I'm getting that satellite dish. I finally got it figured out, John. How I'm gonna do it.
Levi's got a bunk in his. I mean, his is big. His dad came on. He's like,
it's like some of these ice fishing houses, then, huh?
Oh yeah. Gosh. And then that big storm came through, and he was so worried that they got blown over.
Yeah, I was too. When I talked to my dad, they're still standing. So
I'm going to put a couple of these up here because I think we're getting pretty close to the end here. David Fetting, because I did tune in later. Not sure if sights were discussed. Is it worth having a fistful of preset pins for various ranges, or just does a single pin system work and dope up the wheel?
John's got to answer that.
Well, yeah, John's got that one.
We're just talking about my daughter. So at my age, a single pin is phenomenal because you only have one pin, and that's all you got to put on it. It's just you don't. When you think about it, when you have 4 like this. Mm-hmm. If I hold this up to Jamie and I put my top finger on him, I'm covering up everything.
Yeah.
If I have one vertical pin like this, I'm on him and I can see everything around him. So it makes it a lot easier. I think visually, you just got to be cognizant of that. You got to make sure you're moving it. And then like if you're elk hunting where you're having an animal coming in at different distances, you better know I would set mine for 30 and know that when I shoot, and he's at 20 where to aim, because you may not have time to move it. And I've done it where I've stepped out my shot, drew back, shot, and I'm like, way over top because I forgot to adjust my sight. It's not happened on an animal, but I think for clarity, a lot of guys are shooting one pins.
So, John, the one sight they got, it actually ranges and self-adjusts. I mean, have you ever used one of those? Is that even legal in North Dakota?
No, they're not. Like I said, in North Dakota, you can't have anything lighted. You can't even have a lighted pin, which I think is kind of silly because you hunt out of a ground blind and I lose my – I can see my pin, but after, once sunset hits, you can't see the glow of it because it takes the light.
That makes no sense to me.
But that Garmin one you're talking about is like a $400 or $500 sight, and you put it on there, and it automatically ranges. And some states allow it.
Doesn't
I'm not sure the legality of it because we just keep pushing things more and more. But we have rangefinders, and we use a rangefinder, so it just makes things quicker.
I mean, rangefinder to me that just makes them. I don't care what you're hunting.
Ethical.
It is more ethical because you're not guessing. You're going to get a good shot.
And
on it.
you know how you referred to don't like change, and North Dakota's bad that way. Well, look how long it took us to get thermals. I mean, it took us a long time to get that, and that's also ethical, especially in the evening. And you can protect your herds and take out some predators on top of it, and protect wildlife. I mean, to me, that was a no-brainer.
And I think what North Dakota does a lot with our NDBA, North Dakota Bow Hunters Association, they follow a lot what Pope and Young has. So if it's illegal, it's kind of like when we even wanted to get lighted knocks. What does a knock have to do with anything?
Well, those were illegal too.
I just
they were, but
they were.
They're legal now.
Wow. They have been around forever.
Yeah, so it's one of those deals that just change takes time on some of these things. And I think it's you give an inch, they take a mile that they worry about.
Well, the lighted knock, I mean, you could see where your impact would be better. And I mean, and not only that, they're cool to watch going through the air, man. I'm going to be honest with you.
I even know what them are.
Yeah. I think that lighted knocks are pretty much legal everywhere now.
Okay. So I got to answer this one. Jason Lucy says, "You guys coming out for rattlesnake season again?"
We might, Jason.
John doesn't know what that's about. We went prairie dog hunting on his place last year, and there was a few snakes down there. So.
I heard a buzzer the other day. I went into my barn, and I was like, a guy you hear on TV, and they sound like, but when you really hear them, they don't say much at all. And I could hear this like little thing, and it was in where I had some fence posts, and I kept jiggling them around. And I could just barely hear it, but I was like, okay, I just better get out of here.
Well, on TV, it sounds like. But it's like you said, John. It's like
you're walking out.
Jamie and me and Axe, it looked like we was stepping on a bomb. We flew out of there so fast.
Dave Fetty.
I caught one down the ranch one time. We were pulling fence posts, and Kurt goes, "Don't move." And I go, "What?" And he goes, "There's a snake." And I'm deaf in this ear, and I was pulling it like this, and so I turned my head this way, and I was like, Zzz. And I turned it back this way, nothing. And I was like, Zzz. So I started poking around, and it was the biggest rattlesnake I've ever seen. And I found a stick, and I pinned his head down. And I know I had it on Facebook, but it's so long ago. But it was almost 6 foot. Wow. And I remember catching it, and I let it go, and everybody was so mad at me. I'm like, why? And they go, why didn't you kill it? I said, how many guys have ever been bit by a snake, let alone died from a snake? I said, it's keeping the rats away. And the guy that leases our place absolutely hates them.
Oh, man.
He was mad. And I was one of those kids that I had snakes in my pocket all the time.
Rattlesnakes for sure I kill. Bull snakes probably not.
There are a few less down there on Jason's place. And Jason, to answer your question, we are planning to prairie dog shoot. And if things go right, we're going to probably try to hit your town and another one. So
Dave Fettig said too, might be referencing the Burris Oracle. I know Burris makes a crossbow sight now too, like they do. I think Loopholes is called Blood.
They're probably all making one now, aren't they?
Yeah, probably. I mean, one doesn't. I mean, whatever. I can tell you right now, I don't have a damn problem with anything. Like if I still would use a vertical bow. The way my eyes are, I would need something like that, John. If you had the 4 pins in there and it wasn't totally light out, there's no way I could see them.
They make it so nice. I mean, since I've been shooting a 1 pin, I love it.
I know I'd be struggling. I need these to see my screen here.
Clay, trust me, we're not sponsored by these guys, but I got these things. I'm going to try them. This Lyman iPal. I got the other thing too, like for bow and everything here. I'm going to try them out on the pistol sights, John. I mean,
we're gonna do that
some videos.
Sunday?
I maybe make some Toby Keith. I'm not as good as I once was. I shoot a good one now, and then it makes me look good. I can edit that shit out too.
Yeah.
When we did one of our first prairie dog hunts, I took some guys from Wisconsin. It was when we were shooting Nikon, and they were from Nikon, and then he brought his dad and his brother. Well, they'd never shot him before, so they probably missed half the dogs they shot at. And I put that on YouTube. That's one of our highest watched things. And if you read all the comments, you guys suck. You guys need to go back to the range. The one guy goes, I killed more Viet Cong and Vietnam than you guys did prairie dog. And I'm like, I said, I appreciate your service to our country. I didn't know what else to say.
Hey, man.
I wanted to let the guy know. I said, you understand I edit for, part of my living, and I can make us, like I said, we show the real thing. I said, it's not about killing everything. It's like we show misses, we show everything, because that's the way it is. And if you haven't missed, then you're lying, or you haven't hunted long.
I mean, I've done it on a bunch of videos, and Clay did it on our prairie dog video. We showed the misses too. Not all of them, of course, but if anybody goes out there and tells you like, oh yeah, when I go prairie dog shooting, I hit like 85% of them. Then the hell you do. There's no way.
I'll put it to you this way: I'm still editing the stuff. I'm still editing up the stuff from the Selfridge hunt. I'm trying.
We didn't miss too many there, but
I mean, I didn't get a lot of them on camera, so it's been difficult. But I do have some misses. But yeah, you guys were pretty good that day. But it's not. You don't hit everything.
Most of mine came on like 2 dogs. I'm like, John, you always get that one that no matter what range of, like, there's one like at 120. Man, I think I dumped like 10 rounds at him and missed. I finally hit him. I'm going to get him. I went out there and I couldn't find him. He went down the hole, so he got the last laugh on me on that one.
I do have that on video. That was
I tell people, I said, if you take an anti-hunter and you take him out and let him shoot a prairie dog, he'll be giggling like a squirrel.
Oh man, that's
the one thing I said. I've never, in my older age, I'm not shooting many things that I don't eat anymore. But I said the prairie dog is one thing that I will go out and light up a couple times a year. Because
absolutely.
They need to, they need to be kept in check, and it's not like we're doing damage to them. It's not like we're really thinning them out.
Right. You can never shoot him out. Eric chimed in. He says he's got 5 pins, so I'm guessing that's on his bow. And Eric's a very good archer. I can tell you that.
There's, like I said, a lot of guys. Like I said, it depends on what they hunt. If you're in a whitetail stand, most of the time, you know when they're going to be coming by. And again, these bows are shooting. A lot of them are getting close to 300 feet per second. So when you're shooting at 20 yards versus 30 yards. It used to be where you'd be this much of a gap. Now you're talking this much, so you can compensate what we used to say shoot between the gaps, or you're just going to aim a little bit.
We still talk about bow hunting?
Yeah.
I can tell you, Eric, you'd be proud of Eric. Eric, he does a lot of public land hunting, and it's a lot of spot and stock. I mean, he's very handy, and he's just as handy with his gun, guys. So he does it all. He when he's chiming in here on this, I do have a lot of respect for what he says, because he probably hunts archery just as much as he does.
I think spot and stock to me, probably because we're mostly muley country, but honestly, John, one of the problems I have, like, because why I'm not as passionate about archery as you, I just don't have the patience just to sit there and wait and be quiet. Everybody's like, well, yeah, we got hunting shacks. Well, yeah, but you can still talk to your buddies. And like I said, you see them 1,000 yards off and you go put the stock on them. But
you probably couldn't go predator hunting with me then.
Nah, I can't like calling coyotes either. I just assume if I see one or go, calling coyote. Well,
and there's nothing like calling at a coyote.
I took my buddy calling New Year's Eve. And I'm like, hey, man, let's go. And he's like, well, just give it a little time. I'm like, well, man, we've been here like 5 minutes. And I said, all right, let's wait. And sure enough, first coyote ever got right after I said, let's do what you want. And it come right over the hill. And he ended up getting it if you'd have been impatient. So, I mean, that's probably why I'm more of a rifle hunter. And I just sitting there quiet. And, I'm a big mouth. I can't shut up. So
it's one of those deals. It's like I've learned that, and in filming, it's like, that's why I'm going to Wyoming now. Is like scouting is 90% of it, and putting in the time beforehand. Because as a school teacher, I don't get an immense amount of time off, and that's what a lot of people think is like, oh, I love to have your job. You get to hunt all the time. Well,
my wife's a teacher. I know that's not true. You don't. Yeah.
I get to hunt on weekends most of the time, and maybe an extra day. So a weekend warrior like everybody, but spend a lot of time scouting to pattern the animals, and then I try to, the best opportunity. It's like sitting water holes for antelope. I've spotted and spooked antelope many times with a bow, and it's not easy. And then when you got a cameraman behind you, it's even tougher. And like I said, I think there's no adrenaline rush. It's like I love spot and stalking an antelope with a rifle because it evens it out a little bit.
Yeah. Go with Scott. I mean, he makes it real easy for you, Scott Bachmeyer.
Antelope are definitely have an advantage over us. They can run fast, and their eyes are like 4 power binoculars, it seems.
Yeah, and it's the same like when we go out to eastern Montana and we hunt. We got a lot of these places that we hunt. They're big areas where you spend. And when we hunted the Standing Rock, we'd walk 8 to 12 miles a day, and you just go from vantage point to vantage point, and glass and glass and glass, and then you make your move. And I love doing that. I love getting out there, and it doesn't. Like I said, it's kind of funny how you can spend all day when it's 0 degrees out there just moving.
Yeah.
and it's like I said,
So
I love
have you ever got a muley with your bow out of a blind?
Nope, and that's the thing. I have never shot a mule deer with my bow. I've never. I spot and stocked one time, and I got it was probably in the 160s. I got within 12 yards, but I was not educated on what to do, and I tried to get him to get up. I did everything from bleat, moo, yell, whatever, and then finally he just turned his head and then he took off. And so that's my goal this year is I got a tag for down south, and I'm going to try to spot and stock a mule deer.
The one I got that I told you, what busted me, John, is I had it down. I was going to get this big 3x3, and from when I first seen them before I started my stock, there was two just like some little dinks, some forks down that like they had them out like little sentries out in front, and I'm like, yeah, I know where I'm coming around you guys out here, and I'm like, all right, man, I'm like 35 yards, and I crawled up like another 5, and I looked down, and sure enough, there them two dinks were standing there looking at me. I'm like, oh no, and I looked up, and well, then I told you they all got up and ended up shooting the one I didn't want to, but I mean, I'm still happy with him. He's hanging in my garage, but yeah, it was, man, it's I love that spot. I actually like that spot in stock. And like I said, most of the time we kill them, it's with their rifles. It's the same thing. I got a video from rifle season. My buddy Rob got his biggest muley ever. Of course, we don't got the nice cameras you got. I got a real cheap one, so I couldn't focus in on the deer when he got it because the grass was screwing up the focus. But I mean, you can hear it hit him, and all the other stuff from that I got. It was pretty cool, man. He was pretty happy with the video.
And that's a fun thing about when we started doing this is that we when I look back at when our first shows, we weren't very good behind the camera. I mean, or excuse me, in front of the camera. Like I look at our first intros and stuff, and it was kind of pretty hokey, but we were always good at filming. We always got good footage of the impacts and things like that. And it's fun as I've gotten, I've learned to do all this on YouTube and just doing it. It's fun telling the story. It's fun when you get out there and you get all the stuff and you get to lay it out. And like I said, I always said, worst case scenario, if no one watched our show when we were old, we could laugh about it and watch it. And we just got lucky, and it was it's kind of snowballed for us. We actually got our numbers the other day, and we actually beat out a couple of the 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock news.
Awesome, man.
So
I try and catch it all the time.
Yeah, it's just one of those deals. I'm getting older. It's getting harder because Kurt and Jason like to fish a lot, and so they're kind of backing off on the hunting. And
if you get tired of hunting, man, I'm always around.
I don't know how many years I got left in me as far as not hunting. I love hunting, but it's all the work that goes into putting the show together. Like you said,
people don't have a clue, do they?
No, people don't, because like I said, you do a show and it takes me 10 to 12 hours just to kind of get it all laid out, and then you got to come back to it, and it's like there's everything. It's like getting the music. You got to pay for the music. There's all these things that a guy doesn't understand.
There's a lot of hours that go into a 15-minute
It's a lot for me and Clay, and we're not nearly as big as you, so I mean, trust me.
If you guys ever need any help on some of that stuff, just let me know, because I can help you and teach you a few things with like Photoshop and some of these programs to put your logos in to make them a little cleaner and a little nicer. And if looking for sponsors, like I said, it's just hustling. And one of the things you guys should do, since you guys are gun nuts, is you got to get an invite to the SHOT Show.
We got that. We've got one pretty much whenever we want to go.
And then you just go. What you learn when you go to those shows is you don't ask for anything. You just make them remember you.
You make the contacts, and
I can do that.
Yep, and that's the thing. Because they get guys that drop off proposal after proposal after proposal.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I'm all about the relationship. That black cowboy hat doesn't hurt, and you roll in there, and people remember I'm Jim Shockey Jr. And you just meet these people and be gracious and be nice to them. And then I follow up a couple weeks later with a phone call. I'm not a big email guy. I like to get a hold of them on the phone because they all give out their business cards. And like I said, it's worked over the years. And I always tell people we're not the A team, but we are the superstars of the B team. I said we will go up against anybody on that A team. We're not going to beat them, but we'll give them a run for our money. And we have the reputation with Hoyt, Ken, and
you guys are real, man. That's people like that.
They know who we are, and we'll
same thing we hear.
Yeah, we'll get phone calls back from it. It's just that relationship.
I mean, we didn't go after sponsors at first because, well, we were new, but we got our numbers now on stuff too, and you know what? We're evidently getting a local following, which is great. And so we can probably start pursuing it. But we've been doing pretty good as far as for as young as we are for a show, I guess.
What
Really.
our equipment is.
And then
And our equipment is minimal.
no, you guys do. You guys are professional as they get, and you guys are both articulate. There's not a lot of ahs and ums, and you're doing good. And the guys just got to reach out to some of these other podcasts and see if you can get on. You know, like I said, get that. And again, it's like you get on these podcasts and get your name out there, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's amazing how things can fly.
Well, Clay, check that out, man. If we can get on with these guys, I'm totally cool with that.
I'm pretty sure we can, as long as we can make the good connections. That's the big thing with the connection. I have a lot of problems sometimes with the internet here. We may have to do it on your side of it, or maybe I'll have to come up there, Jamie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we're doing good tonight, but Starlink, I'm telling you, it's
Come
great
on,
when
Elon.
it works.
Get a bigger
when it
satellite,
works, it's
brother.
great, but when it doesn't, it really sucks.
I remember the days of that.
Dial-up.
Oh my god!
Wouldn't kids go
Painful.
crazy today?
Oh my gosh!
Painful.
I just want to put this out here. Gene Cox said, "Hey JD, I haven't bow hunted in 25 years. My PSE Polaris and aluminum arrows now are primitive."
Oh yeah, damn right they are.
You know, it's funny because bows have come. You know, because I used to shoot PSE, and things have just come so far with the hand shock, the vibration, just the smoothness, the let off, everything. It's like there was bows back then that went 280 feet, 300 feet. It's hard to get faster than that because it's just engineering. You just can't do it.
Well, Bowtech's got what 3.1? That's 350, I think, right around 350.
And Hoyt, I think Hoyt's turbo is like 350. But again, you're juicing up your arrows, lightening them up and stuff.
So
and
do they get less accurate, John, with the higher speeds like that, or not?
They're less forgiving because if you look at from your riser to your string, that's called your brace height. And like my bow is probably 6 3/4 to 7 because I'm shooting a longer axle. When you get to that speed bow, you're getting down to 5. But again, bows have come a long way, so they're getting easier to shoot and better to shoot. But again, I always tell people the faster the bow is, just the faster I miss them. You think about it. The only good thing about a fast bow, and this is just my opinion, is that your pin gap is smaller, so you have margin of error. But the speed of sound is 800 feet per second, whatever. So the quieter your bow, the less chance you have of that animal moving. If you shoot a loud bow, which a lot of times speed bows are a little louder because they're packing a more punch.
Yeah, crossbows are freaking noisy, man. And my crossbow goes, it's loud.
And they hear that sound and what that animal is doing. And people say they duck the string. They're not ducking the string. They're just loading because when you run, you drop to the ground. And I've shot at a couple animals now that 32 yards in a bean field with his head down, grazing, and I shot and he dropped where his belly hit the ground, and I missed him by a foot over the back. And if you put it in slow motion on the camera on TV, I would have hit him right behind the front shoulder, but he dropped that fast.
Wow.
Shooting 280 feet per second. But again, it's just amazing how an animal has a will or an instinct to stay alive.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, guys, we're coming up on almost 2 hours.
Yeah. We set the record, John. We set the record.
What's that?
I said, I appreciate it. This was a blast.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you
went
coming
fast
on.
Too, because I guarantee we could be on here for 4.
I always tell Bachmeyer, I said, he needs a longer show. I said, 1 hour is too short.
Oh, hey, get Scotty on here. We get the old Four Amigos here.
Well, that'd be fun. Like I said, he's another guy. I've been doing his show as long as, like I said, it's been 20 years. I think him too. He started at the same time.
For about
try and catch him every Saturday.
Yeah.
I did a lot of
I'm on with him this Saturday, actually.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We had talked about it because we were going to talk about that farm subsidy and how they're talking about want to tie that with hunting rights. And
yeah. Well, I might, depending on the weather, I'm supposed to take some friends out. They got some new rifles and they're going to hunt caribou in Alaska. So we're maybe going out to our sponsor there, Axel Hondo, out to the rock range. They want to zero their rifles in, and one of them's got a new 7mm PRC. So hopefully it doesn't rain. I looked at the forecast today. I'm like, oh man, please hold on.
What's Sunday looking like?
Good.
I know we were talking
about
coming up.
Sunday's better.
Yeah, we're good for Sunday.
Same thing going to Wyoming and Montana to set up for antelope. I don't need rain.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I'll tell you what. Like I said, we're probably coming up on 2 hours. I think we're going to probably put a wrap on this. So,
Yeah.
why don't you tell us, Ultimate Outdoor Adventure TV? When can we catch you and where at?
Well, we're going to start airing again October 8th here, and we'll be on NBC, everything in Western North Dakota from Jamestown all the way out to Montana. So the NBC affiliates, West Dakota Fox and Me TV. There's kind of various times they're going to, because of football, we get preempted until November, and then we're back on Saturdays at 5.
All right.
But you can catch us in the morning at, I want to say it's like 6:30 in the morning and 8. And then I try to dump things on YouTube, and then we also stream on Keys Outdoors on Roku. So,
Do they have you streaming on KFYR Plus yet?
no, I'm gonna be visiting with Barry. We've talked about that. I said I would like to somehow syndicate the show with all the old shows that we have, like 10 years plus of HD. That
Awesome, man. That'd be
I
great.
know that we're on there on Mondays, and yeah, that's turning into be kind of a good
I keep
deal.
trying to get a camera from JR, but it ain't
Yeah.
working.
Well, we're gonna have a shoot off between Todd Mitchell and Jay Dillon, so that'll be some fun.
Yeah.
that would be entertaining.
But all right, guys. Well, there you go. John Arman, thanks for joining us. We're gonna have to do this again. Appreciate it. It was a great
Anytime,
show.
guys. Thank you so much.
And I
Thank
want to
you,
thank
John.
everybody
This
for
is
the
awesome, buddy.
questions. We didn't get everybody's in here, but we got most of them. So thanks for chiming in here, and we'll catch you everybody next week. Well,
no, Clay.
actually,
if you
tomorrow.
if you didn't get enough of us tomorrow morning, KFYR 5:50 a.m.
That's right.
7:40 Mountain, 8:40 Central. We're going to be on with Todd Mitchell in the morning, and we're going to talk Clay. We got a guy who got a dispute with his neighbor, and guess what? President Biden said you can't own a cannon. Well, this guy lives in New York. He had a cannon, and he used it on his neighbor's property here. We got to
It's
see
an
what happened with
interesting
that
story.
dispute.
So tune
Yeah.
in.
It's going to be a good one. David Hogg, he Mr. Big, we got to take your guns away. He wimped out on a 2A debate with somebody I think a lot of people have heard of.
He did.
And what was the last one we had there? I can't remember the last one, but those are going to be our first two.
Those are
The
two main
Cannon
ones.
one's going to be sweet, man, because we're
That's
going
gonna be
to
great.
slap Biden around a little bit with that one.
Oh
too.
yeah, got to do that.
'Cause
Cannons
you know,
are fun too, but
Remember, you can't own those, right?
not supposed to own them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can. All right, guys. Hey, John, will you stick around here when we sign off? Okay. Again, thanks everybody. Check out the new website. We had just redesigned it. We're now on a very patriotic, conservative host. That's freedomhostusa.com. Check them out. They are just fantastic, and they're not fighting against us. They're fighting with you, and they share our values. So check it out. If you have a website, Freedom Host USA, go to the website of ours, which is gunsinthe701.com. Our new store is up there. We got some great new products. By the way, one of the new ones, guys, we got Ronald
Looking
Reagan
good.
there.
Well, get your guns out and get ready.
Yeah, and he says he still hates commies, and now all they did was just change their name to liberals. So that's our new that's our new Guns of the 701 design. So
Yeah.
all right.
Well, we're looking forward to getting on talking some bow hunting with Ray's Hunting too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I will get that set up for you guys.
So,
And by the way, don't forget to check out Ultimate Outdoor Adventure Television, guys. Thanks again, John. And
Thank
until
you.
please talk to you again on the live streams, keep your powder dry. Take care, everybody.